The Notcast, life, love and misery and deep shit.
Do you ever wonder, what the fuck am I doing here? Is this it? Maybe you've got the car, career, house, family and friends, everything that should make you happy. But still, there's this tenacious sense of being trapped, stuck, lost, or just a bit bloody empty. Welcome to the Notcast podcast, where two therapist coaches, aka theracoaches, lay bare their psycho-spiritual journey of struggle, strife, and realization in their soul search for the keys to a happier, more fulfilling life.
So, episode 24 of the Notcast. Purpose. What's my purpose? 5 keys to living a more meaningful life.
Whoop, whoop.
That's become a standard thing, isn't it? Just to whoop our own intro title when we...
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's a celebration.
Considering how much time we spend on them.
Absolutely. It's a small feat. So, purpose. Do you want to start this time or shall I start? Who wants to go first?
Who wants to go first? Well, I'm going to start by saying that this was a rabbit hole. It felt like such a good idea when we kind of went, oh, let's do an episode on purpose. It was like, yeah, that would be amazing. And it just felt like like a huge rabbit hole that I just got lost in.
Yeah, I do think that the concept of purpose, it's quite a big, nebulous kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, well, that's why. So sometimes when I do my etymology research and look at the words, sometimes it's quite short, but this one, it did take me down a real rabbit hole and it just started to get circular. So after a while I was like, let's just put a pin in that and stop.
Yeah.
But what I also did, I went to my experience and I was looking at, okay, well, what have I found purpose in, or what have I thought, this gave me purpose? And I just started writing about that, and then I was kind of analysing that to try and extract stuff from it. That's what made sense to me to do, kind of try and reverse engineer it in a way and compare that with the stuff that I know about purpose, or that I've read, that I've learned, etc.
Love it. I was just really random.
Standard.
Yes. Standard me. It's just like, yeah, all right. What comes up?
Well, what does purpose mean to you then?
It was an interesting kind of reflection, because for the bigger part of my life that I've lived so far, it really wasn't a thing as such, which was quite a reflection, because I feel like I was in a space where life was doing me and I wasn't doing life.
Yeah.
Like I was the victim of life and my circumstance. So then having a purpose would have been hypocritical, I guess, within all of that. So yeah, I didn't really think about it. However, what I do know is that since I was really, really young, I've always thought there was more. And so for me, that's the space. Like there's something bigger than this, something more, a driver to kind of do and be something beyond what life had offered me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's interesting you're talking about that, because as I reflect now, I think I kind of had similar, that I didn't used to think very much of myself. So the idea that I could have purpose, I don't know, that seemed all a bit too important.
Yeah.
And and when I look back at some of the things that did give me purpose, like there were things I seemed to have fell into and or weren't particularly, might not have got into for a particular reason, or it didn't necessarily seem like a path that I was choosing to take.
Yeah.
As such, it was only like I only recognized the significance of them after a certain point of being involved in it.
Yeah. I think I've had similar experiences to that. Yeah, for sure. So is it word magic time? That's what I'm going to call it from now on. It's the word magic segment.
It's the word magic time. That sounds like a lot of pressure to make it magical.
No pressure.
No pressure, but it better be fucking good.
Yes, I was going to say, no pressure, just entertain me.
I am not your puppet. I've said it once, I'll say it again.
You keep saying it.
Okay, so when I had a look at the dictionary definitions, purpose. Here are some definitions of purpose. The reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. Now, I took that to mean the cause, the why, the story, right? Mm-hmm. So another one, a particular requirement or consideration, typically one that is temporary or restricted in scope or intent. For example, like required for tax purposes or something like that.
Yeah.
So for me, what I took from that is like, that's about goal and or focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Something specific.
Yeah. So another one is a person's sense of resolve or determination, which I took to mean drive.
Yeah.
Right. Or the energy, the vroom, for lack of a better word. to get onomatopoeic.
Oh, love it. Oh, dear.
And then to have as one's intention or objective. So again, goal.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, though, the etymology for purpose is actually propose.
No way.
Yeah, which I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, let's go over to propose. So propose. To put forward a plan or suggestion for consideration by others, intend to do something, and make an offer of marriage. I was like, okay. And now the etymology for it is to put or set forth or to place. Now, what I took from this, considering all of those, is it kind of fits in line with the whole goal thing and the focus and the drive towards it. But also I was like, marriage. I thought, well, what's marriage? Well, marriage is a union.
Yeah.
Right? It's a connection. But it also then presupposes there's a separation in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's for me where I made sense of that. It's like I'm saying there's this thing over there that I want.
Okay.
And
calm down.
And now I'm going to go get it.
Whoa. Sorry about that, ladies.
Well, it's like Beyonce said.
Oh, praise. Oh, Lord.
To paraphrase, if you want it, you've got to put a ring on it, right?
I'm loving this. What a lucky woman. Oh, dear.
To be fair, to be PC, it is a proposal. It's not a definite happening.
Oh, God. Yeah, not now. It's not. Oh,
How to ensure you're single for the next 5 years?
Or 10.
Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so essentially after that, in terms of the things that came up with things like intention and intend, and it all just came to the same place. There's this sense of setting a goal, of moving towards it, of having this drive as well, this sense of movement. Yeah, it's all the same kind of thing essentially. And when I think of purpose, the things that come to me are like a worthwhile cause or something I believe in, right? And when I'm talking to clients, I often describe like having a sense of purpose as like being a small cog in a big machine whose output or product I really believe in.
Like that.
That's the way I like to think of it. And I mean, when I reflected on my experience of purpose and the things that have brought me a sense of purpose, some of the things that came up were things like belonging, connection, and community. A sense of, say, either status or some form of role, some form of recognition, pride in, say, the work that I was doing, some sense of feeling useful, And for me, those things are all tied together. It's like again, think of the small cog, like I'm doing an important job and I can see that. And yeah, and working towards something and seeing that kind of progress.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I looked at the words too that resonated with me around my purpose.
Okay.
And for me, those words were love was the first one.
Of course.
And fuck off. With love, of course.
Fuck off with love.
That could be a Bond film. Anyway, connection, creation, service, playing, growing, faith and trust, curiosity, joy, peace, grace, healing, sharing my story, shining my light, and being all of what I am. Were the things that stood out for me. And I guess for me, it was like on two levels. It was my why, my purpose. But I guess for me, coming from a spiritual aspect, it was also about the greater purpose as a collective, connected humanity.
Yeah.
And what role I play in that as well as part of my purpose. So those were the things that really stood out to me when I thought about my purpose.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me. I mean, when I think about all the things that I've had some sort of purpose in or felt some sense of purpose being part of, there's always been some connection of sorts. There's been some connection to something bigger than me. And it's usually been, like I said, some form of community or some cause. Like, I was a Samaritan for a number of years and I really believed in the cause of what they did, but I also loved the community. I think it would have been really difficult for me to continue to turn up and be a listening volunteer and a trainer for them if I really didn't like all the people that I was doing it with. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd have had to really, really, really believe in the cause to put up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking similarly when I did my placement and worked in, it was a charity working in schools. Yeah, it was the first time I'd kind of worked with children. Because when I did my degree, I really had thought that I don't want to work with children. But that placement sort of turned that around for me. And that did lead to finding that part of my purpose.
Right.
So just allowing myself to step into something opened up a whole new possibility that didn't kind of exist before. But yeah, it's that, for me, it's something about being around, supporting, helping, empowering, whatever it may be, other people.
Yeah,
and fulfillment, I guess. Fulfillment was the word that came up for me.
What fulfills you?
Yeah. Is that a question? Is that a rhetorical question?
Take it as a question if you like.
Love.
Of course.
Fuck off with love.
So, what's your first key to purpose and a more meaningful life?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's knowing myself.
Knowing myself.
Yeah. So it's really about self-inquiry. Who am I? What do I really want? Because for me, not knowing who I was. So I think my purpose before was really what other people were telling me I should want from life and how it should look. So like my parents wanted me to be a dentist or a doctor or whatever. That was my given purpose. So I think culturally, religiously, peer group, I went to a private school. So everybody was very, very driven, academically. So until I found myself and really understood who I was, I had no real idea what I wanted. Because how can I know what I want if I don't know who I am?
Yeah.
Right. So I think for me, it's, yeah, really finding that space for finding yourself.
Makes sense. I like that. It's interesting you hear you talking about that, because like my dad wasn't around much when I was growing up, because he had a job where he was away a lot.
Mm.
But my mum was never very pushy about that kind of stuff. Now, he could take the other side and say that there was no drive or whatever. But I think for me, it was interesting because I never had that pressure. I mean, I did think I felt a sense of lostness at times of like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do then?
Yeah.
But I didn't have that kind of pressure. So it's interesting hearing you talking about that.
Yeah. I feel like it was both though, in a way. Like there was this, I guess, their expectation.
Yeah.
And then my dad kind of left as well. So it was like, that kind of disappeared. So I think it was more his than it was my mum's. And then it kind of disappeared. It was just, there was a bit of feeling completely lost as to what is the point of all of this.
Yeah.
All right. Why all of this? And that question would never be answered. Like, why do you go to school? Why does it have to be this way? And I feel as humans, we're pretty much put into that box from birth anyway, that this is how it goes, right? You go to school, you do. So it's like your purpose is given to you. Mm. But for me, it's really about how can you really find yourself, because that's going to align you with, what do I really, really want?
Yeah. Yeah, I found that. I think I was about 15 at the time. I think it was, I just started the last year of school where I was supposed to do the compulsory exams. And that was the point where I suddenly was like, I don't really care anymore. I mean, at the time I was almost a bit like, this is a really bad time to suddenly realize you don't give a shit. But I think it was more that I was suddenly tuned into, oh, hang on, like, what is the point of all this? What is the purpose of this sort of stuff? And I wasn't sure at the time. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I'd been studying and trying to, that's the thing. I wasn't even really trying hard. I was more like doing the homework and stuff because I was told to, and I didn't want to get in trouble. But it suddenly dawned on me. It's like, oh, what are they going to do? Put me in detention? Great. Okay. But yeah, at that point, then I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of pressure on young people sometimes when they're younger to kind of be like, find your purpose now. You need to know what you're going to do. Like, chill, just chill.
Yeah. We've told you what you need to do, like up until this point, and now you're 15, 16. Now, what do you want to do with the rest of your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So on my first one is, who or what do I really care about? What lights me up? And I suppose you could just simplify it to like, what lights me up? And I like that question because to me, it just talks to the feeling of it. Like, I remember quite vividly the first time I went to watch a band. It was at my local school, and I was about 15, I think. And I watched them play live, and I was suddenly like, I want to be able to do that.
Wow.
And like, I'd never, like, my parents weren't musical, and I'd been interested in music for like 2 or 3 years. Like, I had a CD collection and stuff, but it had never occurred to me that I might want to play. But being at a live gig, it was like, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
And yeah, and I couldn't explain it at the time. I couldn't explain it, but I was just like, there's something within me that makes me want to learn about this, that makes me want to. So I did. I bought like a cheap guitar off a mate that was like 40 quid, and it was a piece of shit, but it was it was something to play, you know. Yeah. And when I look at several of the things that have given me purpose, like even when I became a Samaritan, like a friend of mine had died, and I don't know, I was somehow drawn towards them. I didn't really know what the Samaritans did, but I started to look into it, and before I knew it, I was like, I just need to find out more about what these people do. So yeah, like, what lights you up? Even if you can't explain it, what do you care about? And I suppose another question for me is like, what would you sacrifice things for? And maybe that comes a bit further down in the journey, but like, I remember when I was a Samaritan, I knew it was important to me because I would sign up for shifts, and there might be like a big party on or a big night out or something, and I'd be like, sorry, I can't come, I've got a shift.
Hmm.
And sometimes it would be gutting as hell.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might try and shift stuff around, but never would I just be like, sack it off and be like, yeah, sorry, or just not turn up, because it was an important cause to me and it meant something to me.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I love that. I really love that. And also, was my 5th point.
Of course. Of your,
Of course it was.
77 that you've got this time?
Okay. You're going a bit far now. It's about 18.
Slacking. Fucking slacking. I remember when you used to have at least 40.
Well, times are hard. So I put it as, what do I love? What lights me up?
Cool.
And also, what matters to me?
Yeah.
And like, similar to you. Yeah. Sometimes I haven't known. Like you, I've just come across it because I've done something different, like they're working with children, because that was what prompted me to start my own organization that worked with children. And it was something I couldn't even have imagined when I started my degree. I was imagining sitting in an office, one-to-one with people, and it changed into group work with children and young people in schools out there, and it just evolved. So yeah, I think that's definitely do the things that light you up.
Yeah.
2nd point time now. Let meaning, let purpose evolve. So there was a point, like when I started that, my organization, I thought, that's it. I've got it. I've nailed it. This is going to be my purpose for life. Okay. Utter bollocks, because that's
Right.
because that totally didn't take into account the fact that I evolve and I change and I grow as a human. So therefore, my purpose and what brings meaning to my life is also going to change, and it's going to evolve. So yeah, it's like, definitely leave space for that. Allow that growth. It's not like just because I found this one thing over here, that's the only thing that's going to kind of work. I really think it's about giving it that space to grow and letting go of it slightly, not holding on to it too tight. Because when I've held on to it too tight, I've not allowed myself to see what else is possible or what might be calling for me. So, and I feel like I've missed opportunities that way. So yeah, I let go and let it grow organically.
Yeah. I like that. So one of my points was, you don't need a clear path, just a direction.
Yeah.
And I suppose for me, there's almost a couple of flavors of this, or at least I've found. Like, one of them's like I suppose actually I've actually got a few examples of this. Like, when I went to music college, like that started just from this. I want to get better as a musician. I'd suddenly realized that I was unhappy with my progress as a musician. I'd been trying to do it myself. I tried a teacher. It had not really worked as a one-on-one. So it's like, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I started looking.
Mm-hmm.
But then there have been other times where it's almost like I was in a situation and I was resisting it, but then I don't know, something had still kept me there. And it's only actually when I dropped the resistance that things changed. So, a more recent example, so the Kabbalah and Magic study group that I'm in, I mean, us guys started studying metaphor stuff, and then they started talking about some like weird esoteric stuff, and I'm like, what's this about? Like, they started looking at tarot cards, and I'm like, why are we looking at tarot cards? Don't really understand this, but okay, whatever. I like hanging out with you guys. And and then after a while, suddenly, after still continuing to turn up and get involved, the penny dropped, and I was like, oh, there's something in this. And that's when I started to see, oh, okay. Like, because for me, it's not tarot in the terms of like the divination stuff. It's like, oh, there's a whole load of like symbolism and like human experience type knowledge, ancient knowledge in there, like if you know how to read it. Of course, I didn't see this stuff before, whereas now I'm seeing it. As soon as I started to see that stuff, it's like, oh, right, now I'm interested.
Yeah. Now
that lights me up.
Yeah.
But, another example was I had one of the first jobs that I went to, I got a job in a warehouse just because I was looking for a job until the band took off and got famous. We were never going to be famous. But I really fought it. I found it really difficult. And I was a little shit, to be honest. I was a real snotty 18-year-old and I nearly got fired. But actually, as soon as I did that reflection and was like, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I can make a good go of this. Suddenly things started to change. Like I got a decent position there. Like I started to be respected and I was like, oh, actually, like, and I look forward to turning up. And then I got promoted and then I stayed in that company for a long time because I found purpose there. I felt like I was making a difference.
Yeah. I think that's, I don't know. What I was going to say was you can find meaning where you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
Well, meaning itself is like, I was looking at the etymology for meaning. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because I'll even confuse myself because there's a number of meanings to it, but it's meaning means it signifies something. But even if you think of the word like significance, so there's something about importance there, but it also there's this equals something different. And so I think you're right. We can find what we need to find where we are at times. Don't necessarily need to be in a particular place for it or a particular goal necessarily, you could say.
Yeah, I think sometimes we just need to change the goggles.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that was a great example of that. Liked it. Thank you. So the third point, get out of your head and get into your heart.
Get out of your head into your heart. I love it. Tell me more.
It's like go within. For me, finding my purpose has been about going within me and being really true to what I want. And I think before, when it was more in my head, I took more into account what do people around me say and what does social media say and what does my like it was just pressure. Yeah. And that was all being in my head. But finding stillness, grounding, connection, and just allowing myself to be with me and not being afraid of what might arise from that has allowed me to truly connect on a much deeper level to things that have meaning to me, things that I really love, things that light me up, that bring me satisfaction and fulfillment. Because I think before that, there was a top layer as well. It's almost like, yes, of course, my purpose and what brings me meaning is like family and friends and, having those basic top line things. And they're all outside of me. So it's like, no, what within me gives me meaning? Like, how can that come from within me as opposed to be the things that are outside and around me, which is actually the thing that brought me back to love and made me realize that a massive part of my purpose is love.
Don't you think though, you can't delete the outside things?
No, you can't delete the outside things. You can't delete them. I know they're not deleted for me. But it was about being able to hear it clearly from within, without it being interfered with by the outside noise. Or I guess for me, as I am as a person or as I was, the story was more like, is it matching what other people want? Is it looking how it should look? Yeah. This big, massive thing. And it's like, no. I need to wind it all back in, get simple and go within and just really, what do I want? What do I want? And like you spoke to before, it's about what's really lighting me up from within, or what really resonates. What can I feel has meaning for me?
Yeah. Well, what I hear in that is about changing your relationship with those things outside. If you've got a bunch of shoulds or whatever, or it's changing your relationship with that. That's what I heard anyway.
Yeah, it's going from the outside in to the inside out.
Yeah. I guess then my third one is going to be find your tribe.
Yay.
Or at least, well, maybe find your tribes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because there's, I don't know, I've said it many a time, for me, there is something about human connection. And I know there's the old argument about, well, introverts need less connection than extroverts and all of that. And, you know, maybe there is some truth to that, but I do think there is some magic in connection. And I don't know, just in my personal experience, there's almost two sides of this. One is that when there's a cause that I care about, there's often a community involved, or there's a community as a part of that. Like, it's often in some respect, it's for people somehow. I suppose you could say not necessarily. Like, some people have a real cause when it's like, say, animals or something, or the environment. But arguably, not far away, there are a community of people connected to that.
Probably.
Because it's hard to do shit on your own, right? Without help.
Yeah.
But the other side of it for me is that within that tribe, or those connections, that community, there's something about being around like-minded people and people who are on the same kind of path that makes it easier to build trust, love, connection, and that sense of safety. And for me, that's where the creativity comes. That's where we can engage with the curiosity. That's where basically you can make cool shit happen.
Yeah.
And I think, and I know, like, neurobiologically, all of that stuff is the polar opposite to aloneness and feeling threatened and anxiety and all those threat responses, right? And I just found through my personal journey, like, trying to do stuff on my own where I've not been somehow connected to a cause or to people in some respect, where I've not been letting people in, it's made it really difficult. Like, I might get a flash of the inspiration, but very quickly I would fall. If you know what I mean. Yeah,
absolutely. I get that. It massively helps me to have my tribe. Yeah. People that I can go to, well, different people, depending on what it might be. But I can sound something through with. So it's just not like, otherwise I'm sat there going, is this just insanity in my head? Or does this make any kind of sense? And yeah, for sure, talking things through sometimes makes it feel so much more possible.
Yeah.
And real.
Well, I found it when I first wanted to train to be a therapist, and I'm sure I've told this story before, but I think it's relevant here. When I first trained, I was looking to do one-on-one. And that made sense to me at the time, and I did get some stuff out of it. But what I was missing was the whole community thing. So if I was stuck with something I only had one person to connect with, I then quickly moved on after that to going the more, the training with groups of people. And I found that very triggering in some ways because of all my trust stuff and fear about being judged and failing and all of that. But it changed the whole journey. It made the journey so much easier and more enjoyable because I was on the journey with other people. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely second that. Yeah. So there's, I don't know, for me, there is somehow like connection and community and purpose are all closely linked as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, because I feel like all of those things give meaning. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Number 4. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah. Get out of the fucking box. Sorry.
Yeah, define it for yourself. Like meaning, purpose, all of those things. I know that often they're like buzzwords and they're trendy words and people kind of jump on that bandwagon and it should look a certain way and it should be defined like this. And here's the steps to go, find your purpose from A to Z. It's like, create your fucking purpose your own fucking way. Find meaning wherever the fuck you need to find your meaning. Like, jump out of the box. Break the box, destroy the box. Like
the box you created for yourself.
Yeah, that one. That one. Or in my case, the box that was created for me, which I chose to stay in. Right. But that's because I didn't know there was another box available. But then I just smashed the damn box. So I think that's... And then you were boxless. Then I was boxless. No longer boxed in. Free! To unleash the magnificence.
I thought you were going to say unleash the box.
No. Fuck off. Oh dear, every time.
Not every time, just most times.
But yeah, like define it for yourself. Create meaning as you want to create meaning. Like give yourself that freedom. I feel like this is the whole purpose of purpose, is to create something that is authentically you.
Now I'm kind of on board with that, but I have to ask, like, when you say create it, what does that mean to you? Because what my brain goes straight to, like, how do I create meaning? What's the recipe for meaning? How do I make a meaning?
Why'd you have to ask me complicated questions?
I'm just speaking off the top of my head.
How do I create meaning? Well, I create it because I guess it's a conscious thing. It's like, if I know I'm going to find meaning in something, then I've got to get off my arse and do something about it. Right. And not just hope that meaning might, just show up. There were steps. And that actually was one of my points. It's like knowing it and actually doing it is two different things.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So for me, it is about, like, I can know it all I want in my head, but if I'm not living it, if I'm not creating that, like connection, for example, where you spoke to, like, I know I kept myself isolated for a long time from true, deep, purposeful, meaningful connection because I was so frightened.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until it was like, no, I know I've got meaning and purpose in that. Connection is such a big part of who I am. But just sitting here thinking that is not creating the meaning. It's me thinking in my head that would give me meaning.
Gotcha. Okay. What I'm hearing in that is that speaks to another facet of, like, follow your heart.
Yeah. I guess all of it. If there was one tip, it would be that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, that does talk to, it follows on nicely to my fourth point.
Fabulous.
Well, actually, it's my second point, but as usual, you messed up my order.
I'm so sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry.
So my fourth point, don't get stuck in comfortable misery, which I know I've talked about before, and I talk about quite a lot. And for me, this is the stuff that gets in the way of following your heart. See, when I think of, like, follow your heart, there's almost this, like, real cheesy spiritual, like, just follow the path. Just take a step out, and it's like, fuck off. It doesn't work like that. Like, the path is fucking treacherous, and it's filled with dragons and scary shit, and it's terrifying at times. And yeah, well, that's my path anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say that was that's getting a bit deep.
No, it's not always that bad, but I guess what I'm saying is sometimes, like, when I used to hear that sense of, like, follow your heart, I would hear it as that kind of fairy tale simplicity, like that there's an ease to it. And I don't think realistically that's the case. Like, I really do think part of the reason we find meaning and purpose in things is because it's a challenge, because it's difficult. Otherwise it'd be fucking boring, and we'd be like, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And for me, comfortable misery is often that space I find where there's, like, I'm not following my heart, but I'm scared. Like, I'm scared to. Like, I'm scared to do something. And I think sometimes it can come from a space of I don't know what to do next. I might have spoken about before, like, I felt stuck in a job for a while where I got promoted to my level of incompetence, and I really wasn't happy there. But I didn't know really what else I wanted to do. And it took a real bunch of triggering and tough times before I started to consider, well, maybe I need to do something else. But I was stuck in that, what else? But I can't leave. And I had all these stories about it. It was only when I had a conversation with a therapist, actually. And I said to him, I think we had an honest conversation about what I might want to do, what I could do. And I think I said to him, well, I'd love to do the kind of thing that you do, but, I don't think I can. I wouldn't know where to start. And he said to me, well, I think you'd be good at it. And I think that was almost a little bit of a, oh, really? Someone believes in me.
Aww.
But more than that, he then talked to me about his journey, and suddenly it was like, oh, that might be possible. And that's when I then started looking. And that was then the hard journey that was like, oh shit, I've got to find how to study, and, like, where can I go, and blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, now I've got to invest, and now it's going to take a certain amount of time. So it wasn't exactly an easy path. But once I'd kind of broken out of that place, suddenly my job that I fucking hated got a lot better and easier because I didn't feel so stuck there.
Yeah. I like that. And I guess I'm going to throw in my next one with it, which is the fifth one. Yeah, it's time to put your courage boots on.
Hey.
Right. It doesn't just happen. It's not, you know, for me, the word purpose or on purpose means that it's on purpose. It's not by accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, even with wanting to find my purpose, like I had to have enough courage to take the steps to step outside of my comfort zone and do something different.
Yeah.
And all of those things at the time, like doing the intro to counseling course, like then doing the degree, like that was massive steps for me to take. And it felt right. So I knew that it was something that would bring some form of meaning. I didn't know what it was, but I was so on the edge of not allowing myself to do it. Yeah, because I was in my narrative, my story, you know, this is how it's always going to be, the circle, you know, the cycle that I was in. And it really was having to have the courage to do something different and step outside of the bullshit, even slightly, just so that I could get a glimmer of something that filled my heart with a little bit more joy. And then once I had that little bit of a feeling, once it sort of encouraged me to put one foot in front of the other and keep going. But it does take courage. And it's been where I've taken massive leaps of faith, like opening an organization and like, yeah, just huge. Investing in courses and trusting and having faith that would lead me to bigger things, better places, more meaning, more purpose, and allowing myself to kind of step into the courage every single time. Because a lot of the things that I live right now, a lot of the meaning in my life wouldn't have been there if I hadn't had the courage.
Yeah. You know, and that's something I struggle with for years, that concept of courage. And like for me, it was a couple of things. One was the belief in myself, because I was sure that I couldn't. So it was like, well, why even try and be courageous if I can't? But the other side of that for me was the connection in the community side of things. I would often have this idea in my head that I had to do it on my own. And of course, if I try and do it on my own and I can't do it, and then there's no one else to help me or no one else to give me another perspective, I'm probably going to give up.
Yeah, probably.
So then that leads on nicely to my fifth point. Actually, I don't know if it leads on nicely. My fifth point anyway is it's okay to let go of an old purpose and to hang out in I don't know yet.
Yay.
And maybe those are kind of somewhat two separate things, maybe not. But, you know, things that come to mind for me were, so for a long time, I wanted to play guitar, and then I realized I could write songs, and I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And I had these ideas of being famous, or at least being known, being able to make money out of it, whatever. And then there came a point where that started to seem less possible. And there was a real sadness associated with that. And I almost didn't want to let it go. And there was part of me that would beat myself up, being like, oh, I should really get back to writing songs. I should really get back to doing this and that stuff. What I hadn't recognized at the time, though, is that it had moved to, I'd started running open mics, and my focus had become on learning cover songs and performing them, and, well, essentially helping other musicians and creating a kind of a community, and being there to do that and to entertain rather than write and sing my own songs. That in itself was a purpose, I realise now. I don't think I did at the time, but I was still trying to cling on to this thing that, like, in a way, I'd moved on, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd moved on from that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I do think that, because at one point I did honestly believe that, you know, you find your purpose and that's it. This is your calling and, you know, this is what it looks like. Yeah. But definitely, like I spoke to too, I think that that's just nonsense, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, it's give it the space, let it grow, let it change, allow things to happen, because then we're getting in the way otherwise. Yeah,
well, you know, even I think, you know, before I was a like a solo musician. Like what got me into music, really got me into writing, was I started playing with some friends and we were in a band.
Mm-hmm.
And when the band broke up, I was unbelievably devastated. Like it was in some ways it was like my life ended, or like a really important part of my life ended. But what I didn't realize was that then made space for me to, now I can focus on my songwriting and learning how to play acoustic guitar and finger picking and all that stuff that I didn't when I was busy in the band.
Yeah.
So yeah, being okay with letting stuff go. And because for me, I guess that once we let something like that go, it creates space and even headspace to find something new and to flourish with something new to explore.
Yeah. And I love being in that space, actually. I used to hate being in that space, but now I love being in that space of I don't know, because I don't know is where possibility lives. It's where, the magical lives for me, in the spaces of I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. Like I used to put myself down for it because I felt like it was a bad thing to not know.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I kind of love that space because that's where things happen.
Yeah, yeah.
If we can let go. Yeah.
I think there's real value in being able to bring some okayness to I don't know. I think too much is still a challenge, but being able to bring some safety to a little bit is definitely a good thing.
Absolutely, because I can vouch for sure that I don't know has brought a lot of fun my way.
I won't be asking you any questions about that, Ms. Dave.
You don't need to, Mr. Bear. Yeah, I wouldn't go there.
I was going to say get back in your box, but I don't.
Oh, no, let's not go there. Absolutely not. Oh, so purpose.
Closing thoughts on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think I went all out for this one.
Of course you did. Give it to us.
Okay. So one of our greatest gifts as beings that are human is our free will. So we get to choose. You get to choose your meaning and your purpose. So don't let it be handed to you. Break the rules, break free of the constraints, and design a life that has meaning for you. Give yourself the permission to be you and be who you truly are. Honor your calling and be the gift to the world that you already are, which will give others permission to do the same.
Boom. Did you write that?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. I like it.
What do you think? I just check this out. Just plagiarized it.
No, I was interested because I know that sometimes you read a Brené Brown quote or something, but it sounded quite profound.
Thanks. It's all me.
Very cool. I like it.
Thank you.
So mine's, well, it's a tough act to follow, I must say. Mine's a bit shorter than that. What lights you up? What sparks your interest, even if it makes no sense to you? Face the dragons and follow your heart.
I love that. Did you write that?
No, stole it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It was beautiful.
Thank you. So, 24 episodes.
Yes.
Done and dusted.
Whoop.
You've been listening to the Notcast podcast, Life, Love, Misery and Deep Shit, with your TheraCoach hosts,
David Bird
and Amy Dave.
David is a transformative coach and hypnotherapist who guides his clients on a journey of self-exploration and transformation to smash the shit out of their mental stumbling blocks and send their emotional baggage packing, helping them to get back in the driver's seat, create a more powerful, loving connection to life, and unleash onto the world their bright, shining light of authentic give-a-fuckness. You can connect with David at his website, dbch.co.uk. That's dbch.co.uk.
Amy is a transformative spiritual and self-love coach and therapist who takes people on a powerful journey towards self-love and personal transformation. She empowers her clients to discover the truth of who they really are, their true purpose, and the truest expression of themselves, whilst enabling them to
Navigate life and its challenges with ease, grace, and above all, love. Create relationships that rock their world and let go of the toxic shit that holds them back. You can connect with Amy on her Facebook at facebook.com/amy.dave11. That's AMI.DAVE.11.
The North Star.